This is Oxford University's Earth Sciences Department, where researchers make groundbreaking discoveries every day. Inside, on the top floor, is the Shell Geoscience Laboratory. When it was founded in 2013, it sparked protests outside the RADCAM and open letters to The Guardian, the association with Shell provoking some anger. Cherwell has discovered that in 2013, software licenses used in this lab, worth up to £10 million, were donated by Schlumberger UK Holdings, a wholly owned subsidiary of Schlumberger, the largest oilfield services company in the world. This was the third largest donation to the university in the financial year 2013-14. In March of this year, another of Schlumberger's subsidiaries, Schlumberger Oilfield Holdings, was handed the biggest criminal fine for sanctions violations in US history. Schlumberger pleaded guilty to allegations of violating sanctions by trading with Iran and Sudan and attempting to conceal their activities from the US government. The company paid out $155 million in criminal fines, forfeited $77.5 million in earnings, and has begun 3 years of corporate probation. Schlumberger doesn't actually own any oil fields itself, and is not an oil and gas company like Shell or BP. It does, however, play a key facilitating role in operations of oil and gas companies around the world, including deep-sea drilling and Arctic exploration. Its main rival is Halliburton, made infamous in the aftermath of the Iraq War. But Schlumberger is far bigger, valued at almost 3 times the US company. It operates in 85 countries, has more staff than Google, turns over more than Goldman Sachs, and is worth more than McDonald's. The university has a committee to review donations, which, according to a university spokesperson, undertook a thorough assessment to determine whether it was appropriate to receive software from this donor. In April 2012, Professor Nick Rawlins, the university's Pro-Vice-Chancellor for Development and External Affairs, said in an interview with Spears magazine, "If you asked what would happen if somebody from whom we've accepted a donation committed some grave criminal act, what we would do is take the matter of donation back to the committee that reviews donations, and in the light of the evidence we now have, we'd ask, what should we do?" However, after Schlumberger's recent criminal fine, no formal review took place. The Shell Geoscience Laboratory is involved with a wide variety of different research projects, with a particular focus on unconventional hydrocarbons and carbon sequestration. Unconventional hydrocarbons are sources of oil and gas which require unconventional methods of extraction, like shale gas or tar sands. It is the research into these areas that has provoked the ire of climate change activists in the past, and we'll hear from one in a moment. The university's press office declined to put anyone forward to appear in this video, but in a written statement to Cherwell, the university insisted, "All donations to the university, whether from oil companies or anyone else, do not affect the independence of our teaching and research programs. Those donating money to the university have no influence over how academics carry out their research or what conclusions they reach. Where the results of research are not favourable to industry, the researcher will still seek to publish the results in the usual way." The University of Oxford is one of the world's leading universities, with the top ranking in the UK's 2014 Research Excellence Framework. This would not be achievable if our research was not rigorous, independent, and objective. Rivka Micklethwaite has been heavily involved with Aozu's campaign to persuade the university to divest from fossil fuels, but she is also concerned about the impact that donations from the fossil fuel industry could have on the university. In the financial year 2013-14, for example, the university also accepted donations worth up to £1 million from ExxonMobil and up to £500,000 from BP. I spoke to Rivka about some of these issues.
If we're going to stay below 2 degrees of global warming, we can only emit 565 more gigatons of carbon dioxide. So people have calculated like how much we can put more into the atmosphere. And there's about 5 times that much carbon locked away in the known fossil fuel reserves of all the fossil fuel corporations. So we only really afford to burn about 1/5 of what is left. Fossil fuel companies aren't acknowledging the fact that not only do we need to have more money in renewables, but their industry needs to wind down, needs to stop functioning.
Right, so I guess, and this leads us on to
the lab in this specific case. Why do you think Schlumberger and indeed other oil companies have been so keen to put money into Oxford University? I mean, what are they getting out of this?
Yeah, so what is quite interesting in this case is that when you look at what the lab's actually doing, they're researching unconventional hydrocarbons, among other things. So those are fossil fuels that, rather than just like crude oil or like natural gas in the way that we've been extracting them for a long time, they're fossil fuels that are found in kind of a lower concentration and require more complicated and unusual processes to extract. But the long and the short of it is they're looking for more fossil fuels. They're looking for more ways that they can get to different kinds of fossil fuels.
And this is where you get things like fracking, right?
Yeah, fracking, also tar sands.
In their statement to us, the university told us the software has been used for a variety of research projects in the Department of Earth Sciences, including environmental purposes such as carbon sequestration. As far as I know, this is touted as a kind of antidote to reaching peak carbon. So is it the case that some good is coming out of Schlumberger's donation, at least?
So carbon sequestration is a tricky and contested issue in discussions of climate change and within like the climate movement. So what it means is basically pulling carbon dioxide out of the atmosphere and storing it normally like deep underground. Sometimes like combining this with the output of like a power plant. So as this sounds, it's kind of like, looks quite like a dream fix to climate change. We can just carry on like pumping carbon dioxide into the atmosphere and this magical thing will take it all out and lock it away. There are a few problems with this. Firstly, there's not been a lot of progress in like all the time that carbon sequestration has been researched. If it's going to happen, and if it were to be our only solution, it would kind of need to be happening now, or like as soon as possible. But we don't even know if it can work, if it can draw enough carbon out of the atmosphere, if it would be safe to store these things underground. Secondly, it's politically very problematic, as I think it's demonstrated by the fact that it, in this situation, is being coupled with the search for unconventional hydrocarbons. It's frankly a really irresponsible way for politicians and fossil fuel companies to be treating the climate change.
So it's interesting that you mentioned, you talk about fossil fuel companies using carbon sequestration as a smokescreen and how they shouldn't be doing research into hydrocarbons. According to the university, despite the money that's brought in from the oil industry, their academics remain independent, and it's not that this is research being done by the fossil fuel industry, this is just academic work that's being done. What would you say to that?
So I'd say that like an implicit assumption in that is that science can be, and always is, like apolitical, and is, like that in this case it isn't being done to further certain goals, and they're kind of doing this research without thinking about the implications of it. There are obvious implications. Producing research that will like be crucial for fossil fuel companies to do this kind of dangerous exploration into unconventional hydrocarbons. It's a political choice. They know how it's going to be used. Schlumberger knows how it's going to be used.
Rivka Mickelthwaite, thank you very much.
This news comes just as an investigation by Greenpeace has revealed the true scale of donations made by the fossil fuel industry to UK universities. The environmental organisation placed Oxford fourth on their list of universities who had taken the most money from oil, gas and coal companies in the last 5 years, with well over £21 million accepted since 2010. It is as yet unclear whether the mounting pressure on the university will prompt it to reconsider its relationships with companies like Schlumberger.